Welcome back to another video. Today we're actually going to be trying out a tip that I got from a comment where it said that not using the online routing for navigation would actually help with it getting to the correct locations. I am a little bit skeptical of that, but I figure we might as well try it. So we do have 5 destinations, and actually one of them, I know for a fact that the pin for this destination, this Dunkin, is actually not on the map in the right location. So if you go and you look at where it is, it shows that it's here in this parking lot. However, I know that it's actually over here on the other side of this street. So that is going to be interesting to see if this does anything for that. I doubt it will, but we're going to go ahead and go to navigation. We're going to turn off online routing. And then this way is just supposed to use the static map data for the navigation. I don't think this is going to help anything with actually getting the correct location for that item, but I'm also going to try as best I can to simply allow it to do whatever it's going to do. So if we park at the wrong place, then whatever, I'm just going to let it go and continue, even though it's not where I want to go. But then again, that is all I'm doing right now, is I'm just letting it go wherever it wants to go, because I actually don't want to go to any of these destinations. I'm just doing this for the video's sake. So just to see if there's any difference in this routing situation with that offline maps instead of the online maps. Could be different. I don't know. Thankfully, it is staying lighter longer, so hopefully we'll be able to get more videos, even though it's late when we tend to be able to get these videos in. But I just want to see if we can basically do all of these destinations, no interventions, and I'm curious to see where we end up, whether we end up in the wrong locations for some of these, or if we actually end up in the right locations. So I guess we'll check it out. Still, the biggest problem with FSD for me is the speed profiles. I actually went on a longer kind of day trip the other day where I was driving about 3 hours on interstate and had a lot of problems with the speed controls, with the speed profiles. So there was multiple times where the speed profile was in standard and it was going 72 in a 55, for example. And the only way I could get it to stop doing that was to drop it down to sloth so that it would kind of reset its situation, turn it back into standard, and it would try to stay at a more reasonable, like 60 to 65. But still, I thought that standard was supposed to stay about 5 miles per hour over, but it just completely ignores that in some situations. And you never know when it's actually going to be like that, where it's just going to ignore a speed profile and just it's kind of just going with whatever speed it feels comfortable going. And that's a situation where it would be much more preferable to have a max speed setting, because if it has the speed limit wrong and it thinks that it's a higher speed limit than it is, then even on sloth you can't get it to go slower than the speed limit. So that makes it a big problem. So honestly, that's one of the biggest problems I have with it, and especially for a road trip, it's going to make it a lot less convenient, a lot less comfortable to use full self-driving in those situations. But today we are looking at the navigation situation. So parking, still not great. We still have a lot of problems with parallel parking, as I showed in recent videos, even with 14.2.2.4. This is still 14.2.2.4. But even like, we still haven't gotten the parking improvements. So I'm kind of thinking that really there's no use in testing any of the parking situations until we get that 14.3 and the release note that we have in FSD says, that it is supposed to have those parking improvements. That's when I'd be really curious to see if it actually does all the parking appropriately, especially the parking garage and parallel parking. Those two things I have had continual problems with since version 14 of FSD. I mean, previous versions obviously weren't capable of doing much of the parking to any to real effect, but 14 is supposed to allow you to select where you want to park. So in this situation, we're going to do parking lot. We have it set on parking lot, and so it should, choose a space that it should be able to park in at the destination that we're supposed to be going. So things like that should be pretty straightforward, but we haven't gotten that release. It's supposed to be parking quality and more parking options. So we will see if that does a big difference to the parking situation. So I noticed that no matter how long we go here, we still have this online routing disabled. So I did, of course, disable it, and I wonder if I tap on it. No, if I tap on it, it doesn't really do anything. But we did disable that in the navigation menu. So it's interesting that it just continues to display that the whole time. I guess it just wants you to know that if there's any kind of traffic situation where it determines that, where it would normally determine if there's like a 5-minute difference in a different route to go to the same destination, it would re-navigate. Really, I think that's all that's for. The online navigation is really only for that, as far as I'm aware. All the rest of the mapping should be available. So I, again, don't think this is going to do anything for the problems that we've had, especially with it going to places or going to the wrong location in certain situations. All right, looks like we're going to back into a space here, and we are backing into a spot that is only for a salon and spa, even though we were navigating to Black Rifle Coffee Company. So you can see it has the reserved parking for this particular spa. It's not actually parking in a spot that it should be parking in. And interestingly, it's pausing a lot here and still not putting it in park. I don't know. We're in a space. We're pretty well in the space. I mean, we're a little bit off center, but we're pretty well in the space. So I'm not really sure why it hasn't stopped. Again, it doesn't read the signs. It doesn't know that we're not in the right space for the destination that we're actually going to. I'm going to go ahead and put it in park, which is unfortunate because I was trying to actually not do anything this entire time. And it's funny, the lady at the spa made sure that the doors were locked, that she wasn't expecting anybody to come. Probably because we're parking one of the reserved spots for that spa, but the Black Rifle Coffee Company is also closed. So both these destinations are closed. I'm going to go ahead and hit it in park. It didn't seem like it was going to do anything there. So now I will go ahead and start to the next destination. So we are deciding to go around the back of the building, which is, I would say, not preferable. However, it is okay to go this way. This is the way you would go to get to the drive-thru for the Black Rifle Coffee Company. Yeah, but this works fine. Again, it's just a longer route to go to the same location. If we just take a left out of the space, that would have been actually more convenient. But and that's one of those navigation things. To me, in my mind, that's a situation where if they had the navigation down, if they had the mapping data down, The most logical route would have been to turn left out of that space and continue on down this road. Instead, we went around the entire building and then got out onto this road. So, just a less efficient route. Simple as that. Now, I have heard, I saw that they are hiring for people to be working on the navigation and map data and stuff for Tesla. So that is a good sign. Hopefully, we'll be finally getting some people working on making sure that the map data is very good and that, hopefully the speed limits are accurate in all locations, because they can use the cameras and they could really build high quality mapping everywhere very quickly if they just started tracking all that data and building it into their own maps instead of whatever data they are relying on right now for their map data, because it is often inaccurate, especially with the speed limits, and the routing is subpar, I would say, in a lot of cases. All right, we're supposed to be turning right here. Oh, it changed. So it decided to change the route here. It's going to take a little bit different route than I was expecting. That's okay. This is fine. Either way, we go into this Sam's Club here. We're just going to see if it should be parking in the parking lot at Sam's Club. We don't have a stop sign here to keep moving, so that's good. It just... Sometimes I wonder if it's going to kind of stop, like thinking that there should be a stop sign or something there, but so far so good. Let's see if it actually parks this time and doesn't get kind of stuck thinking about parking. That would be better, to actually park. Again, I don't get the choice of where it wants to park. It's really just, we've passed a couple spaces already. I'm not really sure what kind of space it's looking for here. Go out in front of the Sam's Club. That's good. We can interact with a little more people here. More pedestrians to interact with. All right. So looks like we're going to wait for this person with the cart here on the left, and then we're going to park in that space right there. Again, we passed multiple... Oh, now we're going to back into a space. Okay, that's fine. I don't know why it had left turn signal on, and then it's almost like it saw that pedestrian and it was like, okay, we're going to go to the opposite side. And there's a space here, and it did a one-shot parking job into this space. Man, I've seen this a lot now. So I've seen this a lot with FSD 14.2.2.4. Why is it not putting it in park? We're in the space. We're actually pretty well centered. All it has to do is put it in park. And it's just paused here. This is very weird. It's done this now twice in a row. Backing into a space, it doesn't stop. So I won't put it in park. So I'll just put it in park. And then we'll continue on. I mean, we were in the parking spot, so it was fine. We're not sticking out. We were pretty well centered. So I don't really know why it continues to do that, where it basically just gets stuck right before it actually could just put it in park. But all right, continuing on. Next destination. We have had problems with the navigation in the past where it did not have the location correct for the city barbecue, but I do believe that it has recently been fixed, so the navigation has actually been better recently, where it does actually get into the City Barbecue parking lot and parks at City Barbecue. It would park in like a to-go spot, usually, but again, it's within the parking lot, and that's good. Previously, it would just circle around. It would go 3 times, usually at least, before it would finally give up and actually park in the parking lot. But it would go into the parking lot, go out, come back in, do U-turn, whatever, and it did it multiple times, and then finally it would finally decide to park. So thankfully that seems to have been resolved for this one particular location. So hopefully we will just end up parking in the parking lot with no trouble. Well, that's yeah, yeah. That guy got honked at. He should have, because for some reason he decided he wanted to go in front of us and not take a good gap to actually get into that right turn lane. So I don't really know what he was thinking about that. Like, he totally could have just slowed down and gotten behind us, and then he had plenty of space to get over. So poor choice in my opinion, for him to do that. All right, what is this guy doing? I don't know. And it's almost like he thought the light was red. Yeah, I think we should get over. Honestly, this whole time, the left lane would have been a better lane to be in, and probably would have made it a lot easier for that other guy to get in the correct lane that he should have been in earlier. Not our fault, honestly, but I don't know. That guy definitely was in the wrong. He should have gotten honked at. He definitely, and honestly, I should have honked at. Like, if I was, driving the car, I would have been kind of willing to probably honk at him, because he should have not sped up to get in front of us and then slowed us way down. It made no sense. Just rude. It's just rude driving. Not unsafe. We saw him, we slowed down. Everything was fine, but he deserved honk. So, all right, so here we are, City Barbecue. Should be able to hopefully get into City Barbecue with no problem, like we have in the past. Let's see. We're turning into the parking lot here. Can just, we've got a few spaces here that are not to-go parking, but I would be surprised if it parks. Oh, it parked in the first one here before the curbside parking. So that's good. We actually parked in a good spot, and this time it actually put it in park. So I don't know what the problem was the last 2 times. It didn't put it in park the last 2 times, and finally it did actually put it in park. So that's good. Now we're going to Dunkin. This is the one where I know on the map it has it in the wrong location. In fact, it looks like it's going to go make us do a U-turn, even though Dunkin is not where it says it is. In fact, this might even be a different parking lot. I'm not totally sure where it's going. We'll see where it goes. Again, offline map or offline navigation. So it's all just trying to choose what it needs to do based on the map data that it has saved, which means it definitely is not trying to reroute for any traffic situations or anything like that. We did turn that off, but if we go this way and we do a U-turn and end up where it seems to indicate that we're going to end up, that is definitely the wrong location. In fact, that's like I don't even know what that is, honestly. That is someplace I haven't been before, actually. So it says that the Dunkin' is in this parking lot, but yet it's going to go to this parking lot. And the Dunkin' is actually over here. So actually, what it says the Tire Discounters is, that's the Dunkin'. This is the Dunkin' right here. This is the lot that it says the Dunkin' is in, which it is not, according to the map data. And this is the lot that it's apparently going to put us in. We'll see if it actually goes there. But right now, that looks like where it's going to take us, into some parking lot that I actually don't even know what it's for. It's definitely not the Dunkin'. Yeah, so we should turn left here because this is where the Dunkin' is, right here on the left. But we are going to skip that. All right, so this is going to do U-turn here and then turn into a, I don't even know what this is, some sort of business that's definitely not Dunkin'. Let's see if it actually parks there. Yeah, I'm not really sure what this is. So we did the U-turn nice and cleanly. That's good. But are we going to turn into this right here? Yes, we are. We are going to turn right here into this parking lot. I have no idea what this is. Honestly, we shouldn't be here. And there are no parking spaces. I'm not sure where it's going to decide that it's going to park. And it's going to... Wow. I'm not really sure. Again, this is not Dunkin'. There are no lane lines, no like parking spot lines or anything. So I don't know. What is it doing? It's trying to decide what to do. Uh-oh. It's going back out on the street now. Maybe we'll end up at Dunkin'. No. We're turning too early for Dunkin' Donuts. So it looks like we're going to park in the parking lot ultimately that we, the map said where Dunkin' was in this parking lot. Again, it's not in this actual parking lot, but it does look like possibly it's going to park in this parking lot where it originally thought Dunkin' was. So it's so strange, though. If you look at this map, like what it's doing here, it cannot seem to decide what it is doing. But we are finally parking, backing into a space. Pretty poor job of pulling into the space when there's no cars around. Yikes. Wow. Okay. So very poor parking job. It did end up at least going into the parking lot that it originally thought on the maps that it should have been. That's not the correct parking lot, but we are very close to this handicap spot instead of being centered in this lane. Also, we actually backed up further than the lane was, so we were actually sticking out past that lane. You can actually see that. Well, we can see it a moment ago. But anyway, so very poor job. I don't know why it ended up in that other parking lot for a minute, and then which was totally the wrong parking lot. And then it finally decided to go to this other parking lot, and it did a very poor job of parking. We did actually see that there was a handicap symbol on that parking spot on the display on the UI there. So to me, that means that it at least is trying to account for that. I'm not really sure how much it actually looks into that, but it just did not get in the space properly. It backed up too far and it was too close to the other space. So poor parking job. All right, so in this situation, it looks like we do need to do a U-turn. It's not going to go across all of those lines there, which is fine. I think that it probably shouldn't be doing that. However, okay, wow, that was kind of aggressive. Got over into this lane, so that was all fine because it did signaled and it did it appropriately. And I do think that was the right call not to go across those solid white lines. I mean, you shouldn't be doing that. So it did do pretty well on getting out of that. Again, I haven't done any interventions except for the first 2 parking jobs. I actually had to press park in order for it to stop. So that was pretty poor that I did have to do that, unfortunately. But other than that, I haven't had to do anything. But I did not actually arrive at Dunkin' Donuts. If that's where I wanted to go, I was pretty far away from it, and the only way I would have been able to get to that destination properly is to put a pin in the map where that location was and had the car then drive to that location instead of where it thought Dunkin' Donuts was, which again, that's just bad map data. It's not, the car is not driving poorly to that. It's bad map data and bad navigation routing decisions. So this offline routing does not make any difference about the ability for it to get to the correct destination or make a better routing decision. It's still parking at the wrong place. It tried to park at some random place that was not even close to what it said the map data on the map that it should be. So the offline data does not work. This is definitely the area that Tesla needs to work on the most, is they need to get very good map data and navigation data so that they can have real-time updated maps with correct locations, and they can, when there is a problem with a particular destination, they can quickly resolve it because they have millions of miles across the country, across the world, that they can be mapping these continuously to actually get that information updated in real time. And it's actually it's something that I've had. So I did have Hive Mapper a while back that I was using, and what you would do is, you have the camera on the front, and it would actually be mapping everything that you're driving, and then it would send it back to the company Hive Mapper that would actually take that data and sell the updated real-time maps to clients that need updated mapping. And so they did that with just one camera on the front of a car, and they would crowdsource it with other people that they wanted to put that camera in their car, and it would basically be updated across whatever location any of those people were driving. And so a lot of the map data was constantly updated, much fresher map data with like construction updates and any type of like road work that changed routes and that sort of thing. It would have that updated very quickly, but that was a very small scale compared to what Tesla can do, because they have, again, millions of cars on the road that they have cameras all over those cars that they can collect this data constantly every day, and they can do so without actually purchasing that from anybody. They don't have to pay for any of that data because they already own all of the cameras and the data collection for all of the Teslas, and so they don't have to pay people to go out and do that mapping for it. It's just, it'll be organic with everybody that's just driving already, and they'll get it. All right, so here is our last destination. Again, we just had the 2 interventions so far, where I don't know if you'd call it intervention or disengagement. I mean, we were in a parking space and I just pressed park, and that was it. Honestly, I don't know. I guess it's an intervention, kind of a disengagement. I'm not really sure, but that's all we had. And in this final job, it's a pretty good parking job, although I'm not really sure about what this cart situation is, or whether we should actually be parked here or expected to be, hit by a shopping cart. There's definitely nothing on the end here where it kind of looks like somebody could just put a shopping cart down it and run it right into the front of our car. So definitely not a place that I would personally choose to park, because that would be setting yourself up for potentially getting a cart rammed into the front of your car. But anyway, that's it for this one. So pretty definitive that the offline maps does not do any good. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on. I do want to include online mapping because I do want it to take it into account traffic. I wanted to also have better map data, but the map data is not determined by online or offline. And so I think that's pretty definitive by this test. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.